The bottled water hit Marcus's chest with a cold splash, soaking through his torn jacket as the supermarket manager stood over him, face twisted in disgust. "I said get out!" she screamed, her voice echoing through the marble-floored aisles of Westridge Premium Market. "We don't serve your kind here." Customers pulled out their phones, filming. Some laughed. Others whispered. A woman clutched her purse tighter as Marcus stood there, water dripping from his beard, his calloused hands trembling, not from fear, but from something deeper. Something the manager would understand in exactly 7 minutes when the corporate director arrived for the quarterly inspection. Because the ragged black man she just assaulted, the one she called filthy and disgusting, he wasn't just some homeless drifter. He was Marcus Thornton, billionaire investor, and he owned 68% of the entire Westridge Premium Market chain. But nobody knew that yet. The morning started like any other Saturday for Marcus Thornton, except it wasn't ordinary at all. He stood outside Westridge Premium Market in North Seattle, his appearance deliberately crafted to be invisible. Torn jeans caked with dried mud, a faded Seahawks hoodie with holes in the sleeves, construction boots that had seen better days. His beard was unkempt, his dark skin covered with a fine layer of dust, and his eyes, those sharp, intelligent eyes, were hidden behind exhaustion most people mistook for defeat. This was his quarterly ritual. 4 times a year, Marcus disguised himself and visited his investments unannounced. Banks, hotels, restaurants, retail chains. He needed to see how his businesses treated people when they thought nobody important was watching. Today, it was Westridge Premium Market's flagship location. The crown jewel of his supermarket portfolio, the place his late mother had worked as a cashier for 12 years before she died, never knowing her son would one day own the entire company. Marcus pushed through the automatic glass doors. Immediately, the cool, air-conditioned atmosphere wrapped around him, carrying the scent of fresh bread and expensive coffee. Crystal chandeliers hung from vaulted ceilings. The floors were polished marble. Everything screamed luxury, exclusivity, wealth, and Marcus looked like he'd just crawled out from under a bridge. The first person to notice him was a young cashier named Brittany. Her eyes widened. She nudged her co-worker, a blonde woman named Ashley, who looked up from her register and immediately wrinkled her nose. "Oh my God," Ashley whispered loud enough for Marcus to hear. "Security's going to have a field day." Marcus kept walking, grabbing a shopping basket. He moved slowly through the produce section, examining organic apples that cost $8 per pound. He picked one up, turned it over in his calloused hands, then gently placed it in his basket. "Excuse me, sir." A voice behind him, sharp, judgmental. Marcus turned. A middle-aged white woman in the store's signature burgundy vest stood with her arms crossed. Her name tag read, Karen Mitchell, floor manager. Her lips were pressed into a thin line, her eyes scanning him like he was something stuck to the bottom of her shoe. "Can I help you?" Marcus asked quietly, his deep voice steady. "I need to ask what your intentions are," Karen said, stepping closer. "We've had issues lately with people coming in who aren't actually here to shop." "I'm shopping," Marcus said simply, gesturing to the apple in his basket. Karen's eyes narrowed. "Can you afford that? Because that's an $8 apple. Organic, imported." Marcus felt the familiar burn in his chest. The same feeling he'd felt 1,000 times growing up on the South Side. The same feeling he'd felt when venture capitalists looked past him in meetings. The same feeling that fueled him to build an empire worth $2.3 billion. "I can afford it," he said calmly. "Really?" Karen's voice dripped with sarcasm. She looked him up and down with theatrical disgust. "Because you look like you can barely afford soap." A few customers nearby stopped to watch. One older man chuckled. A woman with a designer handbag took a step back, as if poverty was contagious. Marcus took a breath. "I'm just here to shop. I'm not causing trouble." "Not yet," Karen muttered. She pulled out a walkie-talkie, security to produce section. "We have a situation." Marcus's jaw tightened. "This is unnecessary." "I'll decide what's necessary in my store," Karen snapped. I've been managing this location for 6 years. I know a problem when I see one. Your store, Marcus thought, fighting the urge to smile. That's interesting. 2 security guards arrived within minutes. Both young, both white, both looking uncomfortable with the situation, but too afraid to question their manager. This gentleman needs to be escorted out, Karen announced loudly, making sure every nearby customer heard. He's loitering and making our customers uncomfortable. I'm not loitering, Marcus said, his voice still calm but firmer now. I have a basket. I'm shopping. With what money? Karen challenged. She turned to the growing crowd of onlookers. Does anyone feel safe with this person wandering around? He clearly doesn't belong here. A few people shook their heads. One woman clutched her child closer. Another man nodded in agreement. Marcus felt something crack inside him. Not anger, sadness. After everything he'd built, everything he'd achieved, he was still just a black man in torn clothes to these people. I'm asking you to leave, Karen said, her voice rising. If you don't, I'll have security remove you by force. I haven't done anything wrong, Marcus said quietly. You're trespassing. I'm a customer. Not here, you're not. Karen's face flushed red. She stepped forward, her finger jabbing toward his chest. This is a premium establishment. We cater to a certain clientele. People who can actually afford to shop here. People who have standards. The security guards shifted uncomfortably. One of them, a younger guy with kind eyes, spoke up. Ma'am, maybe we should just... I didn't ask for your opinion, Derek. Karen whirled on him. Do your job or I'll find someone who will. Derek stepped back, chagrined. Marcus looked around at the faces staring at him. Some curious, some disgusted, some indifferent. Not a single person stood up for him. Not one. He thought about his mother, Rose Thornton, who'd worked at this very company's downtown location, stocking shelves for minimum wage, smiling at customers who never learned her name, who'd raised him alone after his father disappeared, who'd died from a heart attack at 53, worn down by a lifetime of invisible labor. She taught him something important. You can't change people's minds by arguing with them. You change them by showing them who you really are. All right, Marcus said softly, setting the basket down. I'll leave. Karen's face lit up with vindictive satisfaction. Smart choice. But as Marcus turned to walk away, his foot caught on something. A deliberate kick from a customer who'd moved too close. Marcus stumbled, catching himself on a display of canned goods. The cans tumbled, crashed, rolled across the marble floor with deafening clangs. The entire store went silent, and Karen Mitchell smiled like she'd just won the lottery. Look what you've done! Karen's voice exploded through the supermarket. Marcus straightened slowly, his hands raised in a gesture of peace. Canned tomatoes rolled around his feet. A pyramid display of organic soup lay in ruins. That was an accident, Marcus said, and someone kicked. An accident? Karen was in full performance mode now, playing to her audience. You just destroyed hundreds of dollars worth of merchandise. Derek, call the police! Ma'am, he just tripped. Derek started. Call the police. Karen enunciated each word like she was talking to a child. A crowd had formed now. At least 30 people, phones out, recording every second. Marcus could see the scene through their eyes. A homeless-looking black man causing chaos in an upscale supermarket. The algorithm would love this. I'll pay for the damages, Marcus said calmly. Karen laughed, a cruel, mocking sound. You'll pay? With what? Food stamps? Spare change? Someone in the crowd snickered. Marcus reached into his torn jacket pocket. Karen's eyes widened and she took a step back. Derek, he's reaching for something. It's my wallet, Marcus said slowly, pulling out a battered leather wallet. He opened it, revealing several crisp $100 bills. The crowd murmured. Karen's face flickered with confusion, then hardened with suspicion. Where did you steal that? She demanded. Marcus felt exhaustion wash over him. I didn't steal anything. Security! Check him for theft! Karen gestured frantically. He probably grabbed someone's purse in the parking lot. I earned this money, Marcus said, his voice tight with controlled emotion, just like everyone else here. Earned? Karen's laugh was bitter. Doing what? standing on corners with cardboard signs. The crowd was fully engaged now. Someone shouted, "Just leave, man!" Another voice, "Why don't you go to a regular grocery store where you belong?" A teenage girl with her phone held high said loudly, "This is going to get so many views." Marcus looked at her, looked at all of them. Every face told him the same thing. You don't belong here. He thought about leaving, just walking out with whatever dignity he had left. But something stopped him. Maybe it was his mother's memory. Maybe it was the principal. Maybe he was just tired of running. "I'd like to speak to the owner," Marcus said quietly. Karen's eyes lit up with malicious glee. "The owner? Oh, honey, the owner is a billionaire investor who has much better things to do than deal with people like you." "People like me," Marcus repeated softly. "Yes, people like you." Karen stepped closer, her voice dropping to a venomous whisper meant only for him. "You know what you are? You're a reminder of everything wrong with this city. You people come here thinking you can just walk into our spaces, our stores, our neighborhoods, but you can't. You don't belong here." Something moved across Marcus's face, not anger, something colder. "You done?" he asked. Karen blinked, thrown by his sudden calm. Before she could respond, a woman from the crowd pushed forward, middle-aged, expensive workout clothes, the kind of person who definitely felt she belonged here. "I saw him eyeing my purse earlier," the woman announced. "I think we should check his pockets." "I didn't look at your purse," Marcus said evenly. "Yes, you did. I saw you." The woman's voice rose with self-righteous indignation. "Karen, search him." "We can't just search," Derek protested weakly. "Then the police will when they get here." Karen pulled out her phone. "I'm calling 911 right now. We have a suspected thief and public disturbance." Marcus's hands clenched at his sides. This had gone too far. Way too far. "Please don't do that," he said quietly. "This doesn't need to escalate." "Should have thought about that before you came in here," Karen said, already dialing. Into her phone. "Yes, 911? I need police at Westridge Premium Market on Aurora. We have a dangerous individual." "I'm not dangerous," Marcus interrupted. "Threatening staff and customers," Karen continued. "He's approximately 6 feet, black male, appears homeless, possibly on drugs." "I'm not on drugs. And he's becoming aggressive. Please hurry." Karen hung up with a satisfied smirk. "Police are on their way. Hope you enjoy jail food, because you won't be eating organic apples where you're going." The crowd pressed closer, a mob mentality taking hold. Someone shouted, "Should restrain him until cops get here." Another voice, "Don't let him run." Marcus looked at the exits, both blocked by gawking customers. Derek and the other security guard looked torn between duty and decency, but neither moved to help him. This was it. This was the moment that would define everything. Marcus Thornton, one of the wealthiest black men in the Pacific Northwest, surrounded by people who saw him as nothing more than a threat to be removed. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He slowly pulled it out, an iPhone 15 Pro Max, brand new, worth more than any phone in this crowd. Karen's eyes fixed on it. "Where'd you steal that?" "I didn't," Marcus started, but Karen lunged forward and grabbed the bottle of water from the nearby cooler display. "I'm done talking to you," she screamed, and she threw it. The bottle hit Marcus square in the chest, exploding on impact. Ice-cold water soaked through his hoodie, dripping down his jeans. The shock of it, not the cold but the sheer audacity, left him momentarily frozen. The crowd gasped. Even they seemed shocked by Karen's action. "Get out of my store!" Karen shrieked, her face purple with rage. Marcus stood there, dripping, his eyes locked on Karen's face. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper, but it carried through the silent supermarket. "Your store! Yes, my store! I run this place!" Karen's chest heaved with exertion and fury. Marcus nodded slowly. "Okay." He turned toward the exit, water still dripping from his clothes. The crowd parted, people pressing against shelves to avoid touching him as he passed. He could feel their eyes on his back, could hear their whispered judgments. He was almost at the automatic doors when they slid open. A woman in an expensive navy suit strode in, her heels clicking against marble. Late 40s, white, carrying a leather portfolio. Behind her, 3 people in corporate attire followed, tablets in hand. The woman stopped dead when she saw Marcus, soaking wet, surrounded by a crowd, security guards hovering nearby. Her face went white. "Mr. Thornton," she whispered. The supermarket went silent. Karen's head whipped around. "Excuse me?" The woman in the navy suit, Jennifer Walsh, regional director, looked like she might faint. "Mr. Thornton, we weren't expecting you until—" "Mr. Thornton," Karen interrupted, confusion turning to nervous laughter. "This is Marcus Thornton, the investor? That's impossible. That's—" Jennifer Walsh turned slowly to face Karen, her expression ice cold. "That's your boss," she finished. "That's the majority shareholder of Westridge Premium Market Corporation. And you just assaulted him." The color drained from Karen's face. Marcus stood perfectly still, water dripping onto the marble floor, his eyes on Karen's crumbling expression. "Oh God," Karen breathed. "Oh my God." The chaos was about to erupt. The silence that followed Jennifer Walsh's words was absolute. You could hear a pin drop in the massive supermarket. 30-plus people stood frozen, phones still recording, eyes darting between the soaking wet Marcus and the manager whose face had gone from crimson to ash-gray in seconds. "No," Karen whispered, shaking her head. "No, that's not. He can't be—" "Pull up the corporate directory," Jennifer Walsh said coldly to one of her assistants. "Show her." The assistant tapped her tablet, then turned it to face Karen. On the screen, a professional photograph. Marcus Thornton in a tailored suit, clean-shaven, smiling. Next to it, his credentials. Marcus Thornton, founder and principal investor. Thornton Capital Group 68%, majority shareholder, Westridge Premium Market Corporation, net worth $2.3 billion. Karen's knees buckled. She grabbed the edge of a checkout counter to steady herself. Derek, the young security guard, stared at Marcus with horror and recognition dawning in his eyes. "Oh no, oh no, no, no." The other security guard had gone pale. The woman who'd accused Marcus of eyeing her purse was backing away slowly, trying to disappear into the crowd. The teenage girl who'd been filming lowered her phone, suddenly realizing she'd just recorded a viral disaster. For the store, not for Marcus. "Mr. Thornton," Jennifer Walsh said, her voice tight with barely controlled panic. "On behalf of Westridge Corporation, I apologize profusely for—" Marcus held up one hand. Water still dripped from his sleeve. "Stop." Jennifer went silent. Marcus walked slowly back toward the center of the store, his boots squeaking on the wet marble. Every eye followed him. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, but carried to every corner. "My mother's name was Rose Thornton," he said. "She worked for the original Westridge Market downtown for 12 years. Stocking shelves, cleaning floors, minimum wage, no benefits." He looked around at the faces, some guilty, some still confused, some terrified. "She used to come home with her feet bleeding because she couldn't afford good shoes, but she'd smile and tell me that hard work mattered, that treating people with dignity mattered, that everyone deserves respect." His eyes found Karen's. She was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. "She died before I made my first million," Marcus continued, "before I could buy her a house, before I could give her the life she deserved. The only thing I could do was buy the company she worked for. Buy it and make it better. Make it the kind of place where someone like her would be treated with respect." He gestured around the luxury supermarket. "All of this, the marble floors, the crystal chandeliers, the organic produce, I built this for her, to honor her, to create jobs that pay living wages, to prove that success and dignity can coexist." Karen sank to her knees, her face in her hands. "Mr. Thornton, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I didn't—" You didn't know I was rich, Marcus interrupted gently, but you knew I was human. You just didn't care. The words landed like physical blows. Karen's shoulders shook with sobs. Marcus looked at Jennifer Walsh. How many complaints has she had? Jennifer hesitated, then gestured to her assistant, who pulled up a file on the tablet. 17 formal complaints in the past 18 months. Discrimination-based, mostly targeting customers of color or customers who appeared economically disadvantaged. And she still works here? Jennifer's jaw tightened. The previous regional director handled those complaints internally. Verbal warnings, additional training. I inherited this situation 3 months ago and was building a case for termination. Marcus nodded slowly. He looked back at Karen, still kneeling on the floor. You're fired, he said simply. Effective immediately. Security will escort you out. Karen's head snapped up. Please, please. I have a mortgage. I have bills. I need this job. I'll change. I promise I'll... My mother needed her job too, Marcus said, his voice still quiet, but heavy with emotion. But when she got sick and missed shifts, she was let go without a second thought. No severance, no compassion, just gone. You know what that taught me? Karen shook her head, desperate. That how you treat people when they're powerless says everything about who you really are. Marcus turned to Derek. You tried to speak up. What's your full name? Derek Johnson, sir, Derek said, his voice shaky. You're promoted. Store manager, effective immediately, 20% salary increase. Derek's eyes went wide. Sir, I don't know what to say. Say you'll treat every person who walks through these doors like they matter, because they do. Yes, sir, I will. I promise. Marcus looked at the crowd of customers, many still holding their phones. You all got this on video? Good. Post it. Let people see exactly what happened here today. Not because I want fame or sympathy, but because this happens every single day to people who don't own the store. People who have no power, no recourse, no voice. He locked eyes with the woman who'd accused him of eyeing her purse. She looked away, ashamed. We judge people by their appearance, their clothes, their skin color, their accent. We decide in seconds whether someone deserves our respect or our contempt, and we're usually wrong. Marcus pulled off his soaking wet hoodie, revealing a simple white t-shirt underneath. His arms were muscular from years of working construction before his investments took off. He wasn't a man who'd been handed wealth. He'd clawed his way to it. I come here 4 times a year, he said to the silent crowd. In disguise, to see how my businesses really operate, to see how employees treat customers when they think nobody's watching. Most of the time I'm impressed, proud even. He looked back at the destroyed display of cans, still scattered across the floor. Today, I'm heartbroken. Jennifer Walsh stepped forward. Mr. Thornton, I take full responsibility for this failure. If you want my resignation, I don't want your resignation, Jennifer. I want you to implement mandatory bias training. Real training, not some online video people click through. I want secret shoppers, people who look like I look today, testing every location quarterly. I want complaint systems that actually work, and I want a company culture where what happened today is impossible. Yes, sir, absolutely, starting immediately. Marcus picked up his wallet from where it had fallen during the commotion. His mother's photograph was tucked inside, a Polaroid from Christmas 1998, her smile bright despite everything she carried. He looked at it for a long moment, then back at the crowd. My mama used to tell me, baby, don't let the world make you cruel. Stay kind, stay humble, remember where you came from. His voice cracked slightly. I dress like this to remember, to stay close to the man I was before the money, to honor her. He walked toward the exit, the crowd parting like water. At the doors, he turned back one final time. To everyone who laughed today, who filmed, who said nothing while a human being was humiliated, I forgive you, but I hope you remember this. I hope you think twice next time. The automatic doors slid open, and Marcus Thornton walked out into the Seattle sunshine, leaving behind a supermarket full of people who would never forget the ragged black man they'd judged so completely wrong. Karen Mitchell was still kneeling on the marble floor, her career in ruins. Her tears mixing with the spilled water, the same water she'd thrown at a billionaire she'd mistaken for someone beneath her. Derek stood at attention, already mentally planning how he'd transform this store into something Marcus's mother would be proud of. And 30 phones uploaded 30 videos that would be viewed 47 million times in the next 72 hours, sparking a national conversation about dignity, respect, and the cost of cruelty. Outside, Marcus sat in his car, a modest Honda, not the Bentley parked in his Capitol Hill garage, and let himself cry for his mother. For the life she never got to live, for all the people still being treated the way he'd just been treated. Then he dried his eyes, started the engine, and drove to his next investment property. There was always more work to do,